Hey book readers! I've had a lot of requests for recommendations for spooky vibes books. So I made a list of some old books and I added some newer books and we're going to go through them together. So some of these have some kind of aspect of magic, witches, things like that. And then some of them are just kind of like spooky vibes or like some fantastical aspects. So the first one on my list is How to Stop Time by Matt Haig. So this is the same author as The Midnight Library, which was very popular. I put this one on the list because it has like an element of fantasy where it's the story of a man who ages very slowly and there's like a secret society that controls him, and it's about how he finds himself across time. So this one was very interesting. I love unique writing and like things that happen that are so unique. This one could be interesting for this time of year for sure. Okay, another one that I added to the list is The Bone Houses by Emily Lloyd Jones. So this is a YA fantasy book that I read quite a long time ago, but I really enjoyed. So I added this one for the value of zombies and curses and all of the spooky things that you will love. Another reason that I love this and added it to the list is because it's like the story of a heroine trying to break a curse to save her family, and it also has like a side plot love story. So it's definitely unique and it had me interested the whole time. So add this one to your list. The next one is a really popular one, but I added it anyways. It's A Good Girl's Guide to Murder by Holly Jackson. This one is perfect for October and the spooky season. This one is like a girl who doesn't believe the narrative about a murder in her area and she tries to figure it out on her own. It's a whole series. This is book one in a series, and it was a really well told murder mystery. It had so many twists and turns and it kept me guessing, and I really enjoyed the writing style. It was almost like listening to a true crime podcast. Okay, next I put The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue, also super popular and you may have heard of it. It's a little bit slower and a little bit different kind of read. I put this on here also for the time jumping aspects and like a little bit of the magical things that happen to her. So this was a really well written book with a very creative idea. It's almost like historical fiction mixed with fantasy and a little romance. The only thing about this one that I didn't love is it felt detail heavy with details that I couldn't figure out why they mattered to the story. So it's a little bit slower, different kind of vibe. So if you like that, I think you'll like this one. Okay, this next one is a little bit different and you have to be in the right mood for it for sure. So this one is called Angelika Frankenstein Makes Her Match by Sally Thorne. So this is the same author as The Hating Game, which was really popular. I was like intrigued, so I had to read it. And I was surprisingly impressed. It was very bizarre and odd, but like I liked it. So I don't know what that means, but I wanted to keep reading and see what happened. It was so entertaining. Like I was skeptical and hesitant of this book because of the title and the synopsis, and I have no interest in Frankenstein at all. But I liked it. It was like an odd combination of like Regency romance in an 1800s setting, but also like fantasy because she brings this dead dude back to life and then they like have feelings for each other. If you're interested in trying something unique and something different, I think you'll like it. Okay, this one is from an indie author that I met from Bookstagram. This is her debut book, but I really enjoyed it. So this one is like a romance with a murder subplot. I haven't read many like it, but it was really interesting. The love story was the main plot, but it was like a murder mystery too. I describe it as like the murder mystery aspects of A Good Girl's Guide to Murder mixed with like the fake dating romance of The Unhoneymooners mixed with like the emotions of a coho, like Colleen Hoover book. So it was a really interesting mashup. If you like true crime and you like falling in love stories, you'll think it's interesting. Okay, this is The Undertaking of Hart and Mercy by Megan Bannen. This one seems perfect for the spooky season because it is about an undertaker. Like she takes care of dead bodies. And it also has like fantastical elements of like in a fantasy world. I absolutely love novel and original ideas, so I love this story. It was an enemies to lovers, like hate to love, set in a fantasy world where the main characters highly dislike each other, but what they don't know is that they are anonymous pen pals who have feelings for each other. So it was really fun. I described this one as having greater emphasis on the romance and then the fantasy is like a subplot. So it was a good genre mix-up and perfect for spooky season. Okay, next is Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young, and I really liked this one. This was an excellent, very well written breadcrumbs mystery with ancestral magic magic and like a second chance romance that squeezes your heart. I loved the combination of all the different pieces. It has a then and now timeline that weaved the story into a perfect suspense with multiple POVs, and it has you like who did it, but also like what is gonna happen, and it was really cool. It was almost like Love in Other Words, Every Summer After vibes in a fantasy world with magic. You can definitely add this one to your list. I also added The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches, and this one was such a charming read about learning to love and learning to be loved, and it was a very like Mary Poppins-esque feel, but with witches. It wasn't a straightforward romance, but it wasn't a fantasy or general fiction. It was like a mixture of witches and mystery and found family and romance and just like learning life lessons. The writing gave me like Sophie Cousins vibes, but with magic. And there's a lot of diverse representation. And the romance has like grumpy sunshine and a single dad trope with quirky and memorable characters. So it was really good and an excellent audiobook. The X-Hex is perfect for spooky season because it is a rom-com with magic. It was so fun. You know, I'm a fantasy girl at heart, so throwing in a little magic to a rom-com was really entertaining. So this one is like witches and spooky magic with a second chance romance and a small town vibe, a little bit of suspense and like mystery at the end. So it was a lot of fun, perfect for witches and also a love story at the same time. And then I added the companion to the X-Hex, which is The Kiss Curse by Erin Sterling, and it has characters from the same world. And so if you liked that one, you'll like this one. It's very similar to the X-Hex with mixing magic and spells with a love story and like a mystery and suspense at the same time. And this one was fun because the main characters had to do like a little bit of sleuthing together, which was interesting and made for a good plot. And you'll like this one if you enjoy hate to love and dual POV and like witches, magic, and romance. And this one's definitely spicy. I added Daisy Darker, even though it's more of a straightforward thriller. You just need to read it to know why I put it on this list, and it was a lot of fun. It's one of my favorites by Alice Feeney. It felt like I was reading a scary movie. It was so interesting. It's like the entire book happens in 24 hours and it's told like by the hour, and it makes you so spooked and it's so anxiety inducing in the best way, and it's set on Halloween, so it seemed appropriate. This one is different than a lot of the books on this list, and I put it on this list because it has an apartment that transports you 7 years back in time. But this one is more of like a heavy romance with like a very deep and moving story about grief with like a hint of time travel. And this one has a really big trigger warning, so let me know if you want to know the trigger warning, but I enjoyed the story and how all of the pieces fit together in the end and how it had a little bit of time travel was fun. Okay, the last one is a little bit newer, and this one is My Roommate is a Vampire. This one is about a girl who becomes a roommate with a unknown to her, a vampire who is just now arriving in this time and does not know how to live in this world. So she like teaches him about culture. It was creative and spunky and kind of funny and like requires a little bit of a stretch of the brain, but that's kind of the point. It's perfect for spooky season since he's a vampire and there's a little bit of mystery involved, but it's mostly a love story between this girl and the vampire. So those are some spooky reads that you can add to your TBR this season. Let me know if you've read any and any of your thoughts, and then you can leave some more in the comments if you have some more spooky reads for us to add to our TBR. Subscribe if you want to follow along, if you want to talk more books, because we all know that books make life better.